Welcome to Cupid's Corner, where love stories come alive. Sit back, relax, and let the tales of romance sweep you off your feet.
The Healer and the Gunslinger. The sun blazed overhead, turning the desert landscape into an oven, its heat shimmering off the sand and scrub. The small town of Cielo Rojo stood defiant against the endless expanse of dust and rock, the wooden buildings weathered but standing proud against the elements. The town was quiet, too quiet, most said, save for the occasional clink of spurs on boots or the low murmur of conversation from the saloon. Maria stepped out of her modest adobe house, wiping her hands on her apron as she squinted into the harsh light. She had lived in Cielo Rojo her entire life, inheriting the skills of a healer from her mother and grandmother before her. People came from miles around for her remedies and knowledge, seeking the wisdom of a woman who understood plants and wounds better than any doctor. But today, something felt different. As she gathered herbs from her small garden, a noise caught her attention, a distant, uneven thudding sound. She stood still, listening, heart beating a little faster. Her eyes scanned the horizon, and then she saw him. A man on horseback, slumped forward in the saddle. Even from a distance, she could see he was injured, the way his body swayed precariously with each step the horse took. Without thinking, Maria dropped the herbs and hurried toward the path leading into town. By the time she reached him, the man had fallen off his horse, his body lying in the dust. His dark coat was stained with blood, and his hat lay discarded beside him. Maria knelt at his side, her fingers quickly finding his pulse, faint but there. "Help me," she called to a couple of men lounging near the saloon. They exchanged glances, then one ambled over to help. Together, they hoisted the man into a cart, and Maria directed them to take him to her home. Once inside, she stripped away the layers of his coat and shirt to assess the damage. The wound was deep, a gunshot to the abdomen. He had lost a lot of blood, but Maria had seen worse. She worked through the night, her hands steady as she cleaned the wound, stitched it closed, and applied a poultice to prevent infection. The stranger never stirred, his breathing shallow and labored, but he lived. When morning light filtered through the window, Maria sat back, wiping the sweat from her brow. The man's face was lean, rugged, and covered with stubble. His dark hair fell in damp strands over his forehead. He was young, no older than 30, but his body bore the marks of a hard life, scars from old wounds, calloused hands, and a shadow of something heavy behind his eyes. As Maria watched him, something flickered in her chest, a feeling she didn't want to name just yet. She shook it off, convincing herself it was just her healer's instinct, nothing more. Jack woke up 3 days later, disoriented but alive. His body ached, especially his side, but when he lifted his hand to touch the bandages, he found the wound carefully dressed. He blinked, taking in the modest room, the scent of dried herbs and warm earth filling his senses. "You're awake." A soft voice spoke from the doorway. He turned his head, wincing at the sharp pain in his side. A woman stood there, petite, with dark hair pulled back, her eyes calm and assessing. She was beautiful, but there was something more to her, something that commanded his attention. "Where am I?" His voice was hoarse, his throat dry. "My home. You were wounded and half dead when you stumbled into town." Maria moved closer, offering him a cup of water. "Drink slowly." Jack obeyed, taking small sips as he studied her. He could tell she was no stranger to hard work or hard times. Her hands were skilled, her movements sure. "Thank you," he muttered, setting the cup down with trembling fingers. "I owe you." Maria shook her head. "No one owes me anything for doing what's right. You were bleeding out. I couldn't just leave you there." Jack's eyes darkened. "There are plenty who would." Maria didn't argue. She'd seen the cruelty of the world, knew how easily people turned a blind eye to others' suffering. But there was something about this man, something more than just another gunslinger passing through. "What's your name?" she asked, her voice gentle. "Jack," he said after a pause. "Jack McAllister." "Well, Jack McAllister," Maria said, a faint smile tugging at her lips, "you're going to need time to heal. You can stay here until you're strong enough to leave." Jack's jaw tightened, and Maria could see the conflict in his eyes. He wasn't the type to stay put, and certainly not in a place where he might be vulnerable. But his body wasn't giving him a choice. "I appreciate it," he said finally, his voice gruff. Over the next few weeks, Jack stayed in Maria's home, recovering slowly but steadily. Maria continued her work in the town, but she always returned to check on him, bringing him meals and helping change his bandages. Jack, in turn, opened up in bits and pieces, though he was careful with his words. One evening, as the sun set and bathed the desert in hues of orange and pink, Maria sat with him on the small porch outside her house. Jack had regained enough strength to walk around, though his movements were still slow and careful. "You're different from most healers I've known," Jack said, his voice low as they watched the fading light. Maria glanced at him. "How so?" "You care about people. Not just the wound, but the person underneath." He paused, his gaze distant. "Most of the time, people just see me as a gun." Maria didn't flinch. She'd guessed as much, the way his fingers twitched unconsciously toward his belt, even though she'd hidden his gun away while he healed. "You don't have to be just that," she said softly. Jack turned to look at her, surprised. "It's not that simple." "Maybe not," Maria conceded, her voice gentle but firm. "But you're here now. You have a choice, Jack. You can keep running, keep being the man people expect you to be, or you can decide to be something else." Jack's throat tightened, the weight of her words sinking in. He hadn't considered the possibility of a different life. For so long, he'd been defined by the gun on his hip, the violence that followed him like a shadow. But here, in this quiet town, with Maria beside him, something shifted. "I don't deserve that kind of choice," he murmured, his voice thick with regret. Maria's hand reached for his, her touch warm and steady. "Everyone deserves a second chance." Their eyes met, and in that moment, something passed between them, a spark, a connection neither could deny. Jack felt his heart beat faster, the weight of the world lifting slightly as he gazed at her. He leaned in slowly, his lips brushing hers in a tentative kiss, testing the waters of something unfamiliar and new. Maria didn't pull away. Instead, she closed her eyes, returning the kiss softly, letting herself get lost in the quiet moment. When they finally broke apart, Jack's hand lingered on her cheek, his eyes searching hers for something, maybe permission, maybe forgiveness. Maria smiled, her heart fluttering in her chest. "There's more to you than you think, Jack McAllister." But peace was not so easily won. A week later, trouble came to Cielo Rojo in the form of 3 men, rough-looking with the unmistakable swagger of bounty hunters. Word had spread that Jack McAllister was hiding out in the desert town, and these men were eager to collect the price on his head. Maria was in town when they arrived, their horses kicking up dust as they rode into the center of Cielo Rojo. People scattered, watching from the safety of doorways as the men dismounted, their hands resting on the guns at their hips. "Where's McAllister?" one of them growled, scanning the town with cold eyes. Maria's heart raced. She knew they would head straight for her house. Without a word, she turned and ran, hoping to reach Jack before they did. When she burst through the door, Jack was already on his feet, dressed and armed. His eyes were dark with determination, the weight of his past pressing down on him like a storm cloud. "They're here for you," Maria said breathlessly, fear lacing her voice. Jack nodded, his jaw clenched. "I figured it was only a matter of time." "Jack, you can't fight them. Not like this. You're still healing." "I don't have a choice," he cut her off, his voice grim. "If I don't face them, they'll burn this town to the ground looking for me." Maria grabbed his arm, her grip tight. "There's always a choice. You don't have to keep running or fighting." For a moment, Jack hesitated, the battle waging in his mind. He looked into Maria's eyes, seeing the fear, the hope, and the trust she'd placed in him. And in that moment, something inside him shifted. He lowered his gun. "Stay here," he said quietly. "I'll end this." Outside, the sun was setting, casting long shadows across the desert as Jack stepped into the street. The three men stood waiting, their hands hovering near their pistols, eyes narrowing as Jack watched him approach. The tension in the air was palpable, the town holding its collective breath as Jack walked toward the bounty hunters, his hands at his sides, gun holstered. His every movement was deliberate, but there was something different in his eyes, something calmer, more resolved. The leader of the group, a wiry man with a scar running down his cheek, smirked as Jack stopped a few paces away. "McAllister," he said, spitting into the dirt. "Heard you'd gone soft. Can't say I'm surprised. Even the best of 'em get tired of running." Jack's jaw tightened, but he didn't respond. He glanced past the men, seeing Maria standing in the doorway of her home, her expression tight with worry. Her presence gave him strength. "I'm done running," Jack said, his voice steady. The scarred man chuckled. "That so? Then I reckon this'll be quick." The bounty hunter's hands hovered over their pistols, the tension mounting. Jack's fingers twitched instinctively, but he didn't draw. Instead, he spoke, his voice calm but carrying an edge of warning. "You can walk away now. No one else needs to get hurt." The leader's eyes narrowed, his smile fading. "Ain't nobody walking away from this, McAllister. You've got a price on your head, and I intend to collect." The words hung in the air for a heartbeat. Then, everything happened at once. The scarred man reached for his gun, but Jack was faster. In one fluid motion, he drew his pistol and fired, the crack of gunfire echoing through the quiet town. The bounty hunter dropped to the ground, his weapon falling from his hand, a look of shock frozen on his face. The other two men reacted instantly, their guns flashing in the dimming light. Jack ducked behind a barrel, bullets whizzing past him, splintering wood and kicking up dust. He returned fire, hitting one of the men in the shoulder, sending him spinning to the ground. The third man hesitated, his gun raised but eyes wide with fear. Jack stepped out from cover, his pistol aimed steadily. "You don't have to die here," Jack said, his voice low and deadly serious. "Walk away." For a moment, the man considered his options, glancing between Jack and the fallen bodies of his comrades. Then, with a shaky breath, he lowered his gun and turned, running toward his horse. The silence that followed was deafening. The townsfolk slowly emerged from their hiding places, their eyes wide with awe and fear as they looked at Jack. But Jack didn't care about their gazes. He turned toward Maria, who stood frozen at the edge of the porch, her eyes locked on him. He walked toward her, his steps slow, his gun still hanging at his side. When he reached her, Maria's hands were trembling, but she didn't look away. "You didn't have to kill them," she whispered, her voice tight with emotion. Jack's expression softened, his shoulders slumping. "I tried not to. But some men don't give you a choice." Maria closed her eyes for a moment, fighting back tears. She understood the harsh realities of the world they lived in. She had seen death before, too often, in this unforgiving land. But seeing Jack take another life, even to protect himself and the town, cut deeper than she expected. "I don't want this for you," she said softly, her voice trembling. "You don't have to live like this anymore." Jack reached out, gently brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I don't want it either, Maria. Not anymore." There was a weight in his words, a finality that Maria hadn't heard before. She looked up at him, her heart pounding in her chest, and in his eyes, she saw the truth. "I'm done with it." "With all of it," Jack continued, his voice barely above a whisper. "The violence, the running. I want something different. I want a life worth living." Maria's breath caught in her throat. For so long, she had kept her heart guarded, telling herself that Jack was just another passing soul, a man with a dangerous past who would leave as soon as he was healed. But in this moment, she realized that she had fallen for him, despite her best efforts. "And what kind of life is that?" she asked, her voice trembling. Jack's hand found hers, his touch warm and reassuring. "A life with you." Maria's heart swelled, her resolve crumbling. She had always believed in second chances, in the possibility of healing more than just physical wounds. And now, here was Jack, offering her his heart, his promise to leave behind the darkness that had followed him for so long. She didn't respond with words. Instead, she stepped closer, closing the distance between them, and kissed him. It was soft at first, tentative, but then it deepened, their bodies pressing together as the weight of the world melted away. In that kiss, they found something they had both been searching for: hope, redemption, and the promise of a future together. When they finally broke apart, Jack rested his forehead against hers, his breath warm against her skin. "I don't know how to live a peaceful life," he admitted, his voice low. "But I want to try, with you." Maria smiled, her heart full. "We'll figure it out together." In the days that followed, Jack kept his word. He gave up his gun, leaving it behind as a relic of his past. The town of Cielo Rojo slowly returned to its quiet routine, the bounty hunters' bodies buried without much fuss, and life went on. But for Jack and Maria, everything had changed. They worked side by side in the garden, Jack helping Maria plant new herbs while she taught him the art of healing. His hands, once accustomed to the feel of cold steel and the weight of a gun, learned to handle delicate plants and prepare tinctures. He was rough at first, but Maria was patient, guiding him with gentle hands and kind words. One evening, as they sat together on the porch, watching the sunset, Jack took her hand in his. The desert stretched out before them, vast and empty, but for the first time, it didn't feel lonely. "I never thought I'd find peace in a place like this," Jack said, his voice soft. Maria smiled, leaning her head against his shoulder. "Peace isn't about the place, Jack. It's about the people you choose to spend your life with." He turned to look at her, his heart swelling with gratitude and something deeper, love, pure and simple. "Then I reckon I found it." Maria lifted her head, meeting his gaze, her eyes shining with emotion. "And I've found mine." As the last rays of sunlight faded from the sky, they kissed once more, the promise of a new life together hanging in the warm desert air. Jack had left behind the life of a gunslinger, and with Maria by his side, he had finally found something worth living for, a future filled with love, hope, and...
Thank you for listening. Let's spread the love. Like, comment, share, and subscribe, because everyone deserves a bit of romance.
the quiet peace they both deserved. The end.